Mr. Sliwa, excuse me for a moment. First, by the way, folks, it's No Soundbites Allowed. We're live. We're in the Bronx. It's about 9:45. Mr. Sliwa's just come over, and we thank you for taking some time.
Thank you for your time.
And we are live. And I know you know, but again, just to let everyone know, we are live. Mr. Sliwa, speaking about the Bronx, I was at the event for the Lithium Battery Plant on Boston Road, which is not far from where I live as well. And I know that you're mentioning that you have been following up on that.
Yeah.
There are also another, I believe it's 17 plants that are planned throughout the city, inside the city itself. If you can win the election, well, my question is actually in two parts. One, how are you going to get more attention? Because the mainstream media, as you correctly mentioned, is not touching this story. The mainstream media are not touching this story on purpose. They obviously have political agendas. What is your plan over this summer and up to the election to make the public more aware about the danger there? The second thing being, let's assume that you win, which I would enjoy. But assuming that you win, what would you do in place of the lithium battery plants if we accept the message that's out that says that we need these plants because of renewable energy, because of the basically green policies of New York State?
Well, number one, you need the lithium-ion warehouses, battery warehouses, because when Andrew Cuomo was governor, he took Indian Point offline and produced 1/3 of our electricity. Okay, you don't believe in nuclear power, although he owns stock now.
Yeah.
He's a hypocrite. But, okay, so you didn't believe in nuclear powered energy. What did you replace it with? Natural gas? He said no to natural gas. Hydroelectric, there's not enough generated up in the New York State-Canadian border. And now they're talking about windmill-generated energy, which the president stopped, then made some kind of deal with Hochul, and now they've renewed that. So it's that energy created by the windmills off the South Shore, off of the South Shore, Nassau, and Suffolk, that would then be cabled in to Red Hook, where there's a terminal, and then that energy would then be dispatched to these lithium-ion battery warehouses. Most times, you would not need that energy, but in the summer, they've had brownouts in these neighborhoods, and Con Ed is saying we have depleted energy resource and greater demands because of all of these gadgets we now have.
Air conditioners.
So they do need it. And all we've said is, fine, we don't have a problem with it. You put it in an industrial area. But because of cost, they've opted to put it in residential areas because the real estate costs that much less. So they're being pigs about it. So now the position is we have to educate the people. You'll be surprised. There are elected officials that I brought this to their attention. They had no idea this was going on. The public has no idea. Even the media, no idea. But there was a great expose on 60 Minutes that talked about the lithium-ion battery warehouses in California, which have many, 40 of which exploded, went on fire, and it took 5 to 6 days for it to burn itself out. Hydrochloric acid goes up into a plume. It goes 8 square miles. All right, eventually it goes away, but you have a mini Chernobyl. Now, you get back to your house, who's going to want to buy your house? I said, no, we're not buying that. Then you feel like, well, we better get out of here because I don't want to end up having the impact that the first responders did down at the pile of 9/11, where they're telling me, oh, it's okay now, the plume is over, you can breathe the air, and they're saying, I don't trust the authorities on this, so we're going to take a loss and leave the house. We'll sell the house at a loss. So here, all your equity that you put into that house, you take a loss, you flee, you go to Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. We have to stop that because the more they potentially build, and you mentioned, there's 38 in Staten Island alone, 12 in Brooklyn, 6 in Queens, the meeting I just came from. They're putting one right next to the Veterans Hospital in St. Albans. That's a predominantly African-American community, middle class, homeowners. They were shocked. I said, I told you that a month ago. Well, you're a Republican. We thought you were just trying to get us nervous and get us to listen to you. I said, I haven't been wrong yet. If you look at the property purchases, you look at the LLC, you trace it back to NIDOT. So now they're all engaged. I said, but if we would have been ahead of the curve a month ago, we could have done a lot more. But that's okay. So they're having a rally June 7th on a Saturday. And then they were having a discussion of, well, I don't know if the community will want you to speak. I said, what are you talking about? You wouldn't have known about this without my wife doing the deep dive on the property, and they've now acknowledged they're going to put a lithium-ion battery warehouse. Yeah, but you're a Republican, and there are a lot of Democrats there. I said, I work with Democrats all the time on these issues. It has nothing to do with, it's not a political issue, this is a human issue. So we have to break all these constraints. I said, look, you don't want me there, tell me that, but I'm getting calls every day. Please, Curtis, come here, tell us, educate us. So that's what we have to do more, educating. And the media can be a help, like 60 Minutes was. But I think a lot of the local media still doesn't understand the connection, you know. And you say green energy, and actually most people, yeah, green energy, great. No burning fossil fuel, no pollution. We're not heating up the atmosphere, that's good. But wait, how are you procuring it, and what are the risks we're taking to store it? So we have to educate. Now, as mayor, and there's a very good chance I'm going to win. I start with 30%. Andrew Cuomo has been reported saying that. Hey, I got to watch out for Curtis. He starts out with 30%. He gets up to 35%. He could be the next mayor of the city of New York. As mayor, you can put a stop. You can't completely stop it. As mayor, you can direct those people you put in charge of agencies, Department of Buildings, EPA, Environmental Protection Association, and say, I'm going to put a stop order on this until we do a fully thorough research of whether this is going to be a danger to the community. Then you meet with NIDOT, now that you're mayor, and you said, you could have your lithium-ion battery warehouse, but you're not going to take a shortcut. You're going to have to purchase industrial property, or we're going to take you to court. Because this is a danger to human beings. So you want to get tied up for years? Because remember, the city has 1,000 attorneys, corporation.
I know that firsthand.
Or would you like to speed up the process? Now you're going to have to pay more money because you're going to have to sell the plots that you already bought in the residential areas, which is worth less than the industrial areas, but we could help you speed up the process in the industrial areas. So again, you're helping them, but you're also warning them. If you think you're going to be able to put in a lithium-ion battery warehouse in the property you own in residential communities, we'll tie you up for years. So from a business perspective, they're going to meet with their board. They're going to, you know, the mayor's going to play hardball. He's going to pull out the lawyers, corporation counsel. He's going to tie us up in litigation. But he's also saying if we just change our plans and move our sites to industrial areas, he doesn't have a problem with it because he knows we don't have enough electricity. I don't want to see brownouts and blackouts. That's devastating to communities and the economy. So I get it, you know. And then it's up to them. It's their choice. I don't think they'll play hardball. I think they know that they thought they could get over because of the city of yes.
Okay. As a follow-up,
Yeah.
so I can see you've put a lot of thought and research into this to understand the issue, as opposed to what we're hearing from the disgraced former mayor Andrew Cuomo, former governor Andrew Cuomo, and he's been giving us a lot of platitudes on these issues. He hasn't had a substantive answer, and you've provided a substantive answer.
Right.
And part of the result is you're going to go out, as you mentioned, with some of the rallies. You're going to continue them like you did in the Bronx on June 7th. Is going to be the next one. Given that New York has great need of replenishing the businesses under Andrew Cuomo, under Kathy Hochul, New York State has been losing about 300,000 people per year, offset by about 100,000 illegal aliens, which gives us the 200,000 number that we've been seeing in the news media for about a decade. But with that exodus, we know that over, I believe it's $20 billion of businesses that were owned and small businesses that were running in the city have left. Magnified by 2020 and the lockdowns, we've seen that. We haven't seen anything replace that. Do you have a substantive idea, at least, or a plan that can help bring back business, small business in particular, something that New York City has really relied on substantively throughout our lifetimes? That's been the backbone.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan or at least a path that would bring back small business?
Well, again, when Eric Adams beat me and became mayor, he said, he was going to convince businesses to come back to New York City. Once they've left, they're not coming back. Because they're in an environment where they pay less taxes, they have less restrictive codes, it's easier to do business, they have a better trained workforce, better quality of life for their employees, better schools. There's no way they're coming back. But with all this empty space now, all the retail space, why is the retail space empty? Not all of it, but a good majority of it, because of the shoplifting. Mm-hmm. If you stop the shoplifting, especially the new immigrant community who wants to own their own businesses, will take a chance at investment. Nobody's going to invest in setting up a retail operation, whether it's a candy store, whether you're selling chips, whether you're selling apparel, clothing, whatever it is that you have a dream, an aspiration. I want to live the American dream. I always dreamed of having my own shop. Nobody's going to do that if you think your product is going to be shoplifted out and the people doing it are not going to be prosecuted, and more importantly, there are no consequences. So there's no desire for you to have to go through all the regulations, all the red tape. The fact now is that electricity rates have skyrocketed because of Andrew Cuomo when he eliminated the amount of energy we have. Sewage rates, water rates. Now you got to buy a garbage can, from the city. It's like all these things that are detrimental to setting up a new business. So I think my job is to keep the businesses that we already have here. And then once you can stabilize the situation with an improvement of the quality of life, then maybe new entrepreneurs will come along, especially in the immigrant community, and want to take a chance at developing. Look, you walk in Manhattan, you see all the retail space.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is when it's empty, it's almost chintzy. They put up the brown butcher wrapping paper on the windows. That's what we used to put on our books in public school. We couldn't afford the more expensive book paper like
When you
that.
didn't have money to buy the regular book covers, you
Right.
took that paper bag and...
That's right, exactly.
Or the newspaper.
So you look at this prime retail space along Madison Avenue, Lexington, empty with butcher brown block paper on the windows, which makes it look so bad. And you say, we got to first try to get people to want to set up shop in these spaces. The other thing I would do temporarily is we have a problem. We just qualified for the Protect Animals Independent Line, which people of all different political persuasions will vote for you. For me, especially because I and my wife's life dedicated to rescuing animals, and we're going to have no-kill shelters. You put dogs and cats in some of those windows, and it's like the song, how much is that little doggy in the window? People pass by in these major thoroughfares, you watch how quickly they'll adopt. But you also let them know, if they come to adopt a cat or a dog that they see in the window, because maybe their kids or grandchildren, if you can't handle it, bring it back. Don't just throw it out in the street.
Yeah.
Don't turn it into a shelter. In a shelter, an animal shelter, in a certain number of days, if it can't be fostered out or adopted out, they kill it, they euthanize it. Bring it back. So you make some productive use, and then you find other uses for the empty space. And because you have activity, and people walking up and down the streets, and now you're starting to generate, is there a feeling of safety? Do we have no shoplifting going on? Have we removed the homeless and the emotionally disturbed so you feel safe and secure walking up the streets, coming out of the subway? All of that is an inducement to you as a potential entrepreneur to say, yeah, with the help of the city, I'll try to set up a shop. I've always had a dream, of selling silk or selling carpet, or whatever it is their dreams are. That's how the city can be helpful for the small mom and pop shops. The bigger businesses will be very hard because everybody is recruiting them out because they have much better offers, and they'll sweeten them up. They'll actually say, for the next 10 years, you don't have to pay property tax. We can't do that.
Yeah.
We can't let some big business like Amazon or whatever come in, and then because they're providing jobs, which is what we need, no taxes for 10 years. How do we subsidize all of our social services? Because all we're going to end up is a city of the very rich who know how to shelter their wealth and not pay taxes, and the very poor who can only pay sales tax. They don't have money to pay tax. So the blue-collar working class, which is the backbone of the city, is driven out of the city to other states. And it doesn't matter. At that point, the city then really begins to stick in their midst. So I don't want to fool people. It's like a form of tricknology. Oh, I'm going to lure somebody back who went to Florida, who brought their business down there. No, we're not. Because before they left, they calculated everything. They probably didn't want to leave. But the cost of doing business was just so high, and Florida was offering inducements.
Sure.
Because they all come, like they recruit our cops away.
Yeah.
Because the cops realize, wow, with 2 or 3 years of experience in the NYPD, I now have different departments contacting me as to whether I'd like to actually move to Tidewater Peninsula in Virginia. Oh, they're going to pay for my housing for a year. They're going to give me a bonus. And I don't get abused being a cop down there. And I have promotional opportunities because I have the experience of being a New York City police officer. Whoosh, they're out the door, they're gone. And they're recruiting every day. We're down to 31,000 police. We need to be at 40,000 level. So unless we get control of the streets and the subways through public safety and return to quality of life, you're never going to be able to convince businesses to come here, invest here, whether they're foreign or they left and now you want them to come back. It's almost, you got to stabilize what you have.
Since it's a rare opportunity, would you mind if we ask the question?
Sure.
These guys stayed pretty late.
Absolutely.
Oh, I only have one more because I don't want to capitalize and I know we're live. And I do appreciate that you've given us the one-on-one. I don't want to take anyone else's time up. One simple question, and I'll shut up. Relationships are very vital to New York. And we know that right now we have Governor Hochul, possibly Elise Stefanik may run against her. Odds are very good that she would win. She's in New York 21st District. Obviously we have President Trump for the next 3 years, and then we'll see who takes over after that. But for that time period, so looking at the next 2 to 3 years, the mayor of New York needs to have a very strong relationship both with the governor and also the president, if at all possible. What is the nature of your relationship right now with Elise Stefanik, Kathy Hochul, and most importantly, Donald Trump? Because he hasn't endorsed you yet, but then again, we haven't got through primaries yet, so usually no one steps in before.
The most important person of the three is clearly the president because they hold a lot of purse strings. So public housing, 95% of the funds come from the federal government. Andrew Cuomo should know he was the Secretary of HUD under Bill Clinton. And yet he takes up, I want to take on Trump. But I'm not going to be like Eric Adams, a puppet, where basically the president calls, hey Eric, I want you to jump. How high, Mr. President? You know, there are going to be times that what the president wants to do is helpful to other parts of the country, but hurtful to us. You have to be able to say, Mr. President, no disrespect, but I can't sign on to that. I'm the mayor of all the people of New York City, even the people who didn't vote for me. And then actually he's not going to take it the right way, but that's the way Trump is. But then again, if you hold your ground and you can make a good argument, it may well be you sway the federal government. Some you win, some you lose. Hochul, I think, would much prefer to deal with me than Andrew Cuomo, her nemesis.
Yeah.
Fair.
And Stefanik, I have a very good relationship with. In fact, remember, she's the one who eviscerated Andrew Cuomo on the Hill in Congress.
Yes.
And that's where he perjured himself. So it wasn't necessarily from her cross-examination, but in his testimony in the open session, he clearly perjured himself, which now allows Jeanine Pirro, who's the new U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., to possibly charge him with perjury, because that's DOJ has been asked to investigate. They've been doing it for a month, and they generally will indict. Now, that didn't prevent the president from becoming the president. Probably won't prevent Andrew Cuomo from obviously running for mayor. But I think it will alert people that he is responsible for the death of 15,000 people that were in his care when he issued that executive order. He will not apologize for that. And he's trying to make it political now. He's saying all those families were influenced by conservative commentators.
Somebody died.
I know, but I know some of the family members are very liberal, progressive, socialist, some of them. It's not a conservative plot. These are all different kind of family members who felt let down by the governor, who took their loved ones out of hospitals where they had COVID and put them in long-term nursing home care units where it spread like wildfire. Then he wouldn't acknowledge it, wouldn't apologize. When his Department of Health gave him the actual figures of those who died, he said, hold on a second. Him and Melissa DeRosa went into the back room of White House and lessened the numbers. And they said, you can't do that, Governor. He said, I just did. And he's lied about that because they testified. His own staff said, no, he changed the numbers. And Melissa DeRosa was caught on a video conference call with the Democratic leaders in Albany saying, yes, we did it because we feared we'd be indicted by Jeff Sessions, who then was the U.S. Attorney General in the first Trump administration. So everything has been done to hide, and through this whole ordeal, he would never once look at the family members, say, yeah, I'm really sorry, I could have done things better. I wish I had a chance to have done things better. Nothing, no humility, not my fault. So he never acknowledges fault on anything. We're in the mess we are in New York City because of no cash bail.
Yeah.
And he's doubled down on it. He says that's
Definitely
a good thing. How is it a good thing? Look at what's happened to our city and our state because of that.
I thank everyone for indulging me there for the few moments, and I thank you
Oh,
for
my
giving me
pleasure.
some time for
My
that. I look forward to trying to get you, we'll talk, try and get a little bit longer. But
Absolutely.
please, go right ahead. Thank you.
Curtis, do you mind if we start off?
No problem.
Jason, you want to